So in this video, we're learning how to add and subtract integers, and just to remind you guys, integers are just positive and negative whole numbers and zero. So an integer could be negative 50, it could be 37, it could be 0, it could be 1, it could be negative 3. So we're going to learn how to add and subtract positive and negative whole numbers and zero using vertical number lines, which you'll see on the screen. So let's jump into number 1. So for number 1, we have negative 5 plus 8. So we're going to go over here to these number lines on the right. We're going to use the first one. So we're starting at negative 5. So I'm just going to put a circle at negative 5 where we're starting. And then this plus 8 tells us to go up 8 on our number line. So positive is up, negative is down. So we're going to go up 8 spots. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's going to take us here to 3. So our answer for negative 5 plus 8 is going to give us a positive 3. So now we're going to take a look at the second one, which is negative 8 plus 5. So it's similar, but this time the 8 is negative and the 5 is positive. So we're going to look at this other number line. This time we're starting at negative 8 down here. And again, this plus 5 is telling us to go up, but this time we're only going up 5. So we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's going to bring us to negative 3. So we get that negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. So what you'll notice is that these problems are pretty similar. It's just that negative 5 plus 8 comes out as a positive 3. And that's because the bigger number, like the 8, is positive, right? So our answers are going to end up positive. Whereas for negative 8 plus 5, since the 8 is negative, and 8's bigger than 5, our answer comes out as negative. So let's take a look at these next two examples over here. So number 3 is negative 2 minus 3. So again, we're going to use our vertical number line. So we're going to start at negative 2. And then this minus 3 is going to tell us to go down 3. So if we're adding, we go up. If we're subtracting, we're going to go down. So now we're going to go down 1, 2, 3. And we're going to end up at negative 5. So we get that negative 2 minus 3 is equal to negative 5. And now we're going to look at number 4, which is negative 3 minus 2. So over here on our number line, we're going to start at negative 3. And we're going to go down 2 because it's minus 2. So we're going to go 1, 2 down. And we end up at the same spot. So we end up at negative 5. So when you are subtracting a number from a negative number, right? So we have, for number 3, negative 2 minus 3. The order doesn't matter. These are actually going to be the same thing. And it makes sense when we look at it on the number line. So let's do a couple more examples using a number line, and then we will do some without a number line. So number 5 is 6 minus 10. So 6 is just positive 6. So if a number doesn't have a sign, it's just the same as saying a positive number. So we are starting at positive 6, and this minus 10 tells us that we want to go down 10. So we're going to go down 10 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's going to bring us down to negative 4. So 6 minus 10 is going to give us a negative 4. And now we're going to look at 3 plus negative 5. So this one's a little weird. We're adding a negative. We haven't seen this yet. So what we have to know is that when we add a negative, so if we have a plus and a minus next to each other, this is just going to turn into a minus. So we really have 3 minus 5. So I'll say that again. So if you're adding a negative number, you have a plus and a minus next to each other, it's just going to turn into a minus. So we have 3 minus 5. So we want to start at positive 3 on our number line. And we're subtracting 5, so we're going to go down 5. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we end up at negative 2. So we get that 3 plus negative 5, which is the same as 3 minus 5, is negative 2. So So if we look at number 7, we have this plus a negative number again. So remember, we're going to keep the negative 4 the same, and we're going to change this plus minus into a minus, and then keep the 2. So we have negative 4 minus 2. So we want to start at negative 4, just all the way down here. And then this minus tells us to go down 2. We're going to go 1, 2 down. And we end up at negative 6. So we get that negative 4 plus negative 2 is negative 6, which again is the same as negative 4 minus 2. Let's take a look at this last one that we're going to do with the number line. So we have negative 8 minus negative 2. So we haven't seen this minus minus yet. So when you have a minus and a minus, think of them as just canceling each other out. They turn into a plus. So this minus minus is going to turn into a plus. So we really have negative 8 plus 2. We're going to go over to our number line. We're going to start at negative 8. And this plus is going to tell us to go up 2 spots. So we're going to go up 1, 2. We end up at negative 6. So we get negative 8 minus a negative 2 is a negative 6. And again, that's the same as negative 8 plus 2. So just a quick refresher on the plus minus and minus minus. So you have a plus minus, it turns to minus. If you have a minus minus, it turns to plus. So we're going to go through some more examples where we can't use a number line because the numbers are going to be too big. So if we look at number 9, we have negative 12 minus negative 20. So these numbers are pretty big, so it might be hard for you guys to draw a number line to use for these problems. So we're just going to kind of think about it using a number line in our heads. So first, what we want to remember is that a minus minus turns into a plus. So this is really negative 12 plus 20. And now what I tell students is think about negatives as if you're underground. So for this negative 12, think about it like you start 12 steps underground. And we're going to say the ground is 0. And then we climb up 20 steps. And we're going to think, are we above ground or are we underground? Well, if we only start 12 steps below and we go 20 up, we're going to be above ground. So we have to think, how many steps above ground are we? So we're going to think about it. If we start 12 steps below ground and then we go up 12 steps, we get to ground level, right? So we're at 0. But to go 20 steps, we need to go 8 more. So now we are 8 steps above ground. So I'm going to use this analogy as we're going through the next couple problems, so hopefully it'll make some sense to you guys. But if we do negative 12 plus 20, we get a positive 8. So now we're going to look at 15 minus 21. So because we have a 15, that's a positive 15, we're going to say we're starting 15 steps above ground. And we go 21 steps down, right? 21 is bigger than 15, so we're going to end up underground. So we're going to end up with a negative number. So we're going to think, if we start 15 steps above ground, and then we go 15 steps down, we're at ground level, we're at 0. We've got to go 6 more steps down to get to 21 steps down, right? So now we're 6 steps underground. So we're at negative 6. So if we move on to number 11, we have negative 18 plus 7. So we have negative 18, so we're 18 steps underground. We only go up 7 steps, so we're not going to get to ground level. We're still going to be underground. So we know our answer has to be negative. So I'm actually going to put a negative here this time. So now we're going to think, if we're at negative 18, or we're 18 steps below ground, if we go 1 step up, we're 17 below ground. Another one, 16 below ground. 3 steps up, 15. 4 steps up, 14. 5 steps up, 13. 6 steps up, 12. 7 steps up, 11. Right? So if we're going from 18 steps underground and we go up 7, we're going to get to negative 11. So if we look at the last one on this slide, we have a negative 45 minus 10. So negative 45 tells us we're 45 steps underground, and this minus 10 means we're going more underground. So our number is going to get even more negative. So we're 45 steps underground, we go 10 more steps underground. 45 plus 10 is 55, so now we're 55 steps underground, so we get negative 55. Let's go through 4 more examples just to make sure this makes sense. So for number 13, we have 34 plus negative 20. So for this one, we have to remember the rule that a plus and a minus turns into a minus. So we have 34 minus 20. And this one's not bad because this is just a big number minus a smaller number. So we're actually going to get a positive number. So we're just doing 34 minus 20, which we should know is just a positive 14. If we look at number 14, we have 12 minus a negative 44. So we have to remember that subtracting a negative, or a minus minus, turns to a plus. And now we have a pretty easy problem. It's just 12 plus 44. So we're just adding positive numbers. So 12 plus 44 is going to give us 56. So now let's take a look at these last two examples. So number 15 is negative 17 plus negative 15. So again, plus minus turns to minus. So we have negative 17 minus 15. That's a little weird, so I'm going to move this minus sign down. So we have negative 17 minus 15. So let's go back to this underground, above ground analogy. So remember, this negative 17 means we start 17 steps underground. And we're subtracting 15, so we're going more underground. So we're going to have a negative number. It's going to be more negative than negative 17. So we're 17 steps underground. We go 15 more steps underground. So if we add 17 and 15, we're going to get 32. So we're 32 steps underground, which means we get negative 32. So for this last example, we've got negative 28 plus 36. We're going to use this underground, above ground analogy one more time. So negative 28 means we start 28 steps underground. We add 36, so we climb up 36 steps. Because we're climbing more steps than we started underground, right? 36 is more than 28. We're going to end up with a positive number. I'm just going to put a positive here. We don't need the plus, but I'll put it for now. So if we start at negative 28 and we climb up 28 steps, remember, we're at ground level. We're at 0. We've got to go 8 more steps to get to that full 36 steps. So now we are 8 steps above ground. So we get positive 8, which is just the same as 8. So hopefully this video helped you guys learn how to add and subtract integers. If you're struggling with the below ground, above ground analogy, I would recommend printing out some number lines and filling them in and using those in the beginning. And I would suggest printing out some vertical number lines. And eventually I think you will be able to do it without the number lines.